Okay, welcome back to the workshops. Today we're going to talk about argument and the importance of argument in your research and your thesis. The word thesis comes from ancient Greek. It means putting forth a proposition. Yours might be a particularly long proposition of 40 to 80,000 words, but that's what you're doing. You are not writing a long description of the relevant literature and the information you've gathered while reading it. You are proposing a new way of looking at something or a way of looking at new information you've gathered. This is called having an argument. It's not the popular use of that word, which means to fight, although some scholars also do that, or being aggressively opinionated with minimal evidence in opposition to someone else. It means to arrive systematically at a point of view, an interpretation of something, using the preceding evidence developed by scholars and seeing how your own data or theory fits or doesn't with that established knowledge base. In a thesis, you need to first propose and then substantiate methodically a reasoned point of view. And you need to start this long and winding process towards your final destination with a tentative argument, a question and an answer or a hypothesis that will be elaborated and probably amended as you proceed through your thesis. So what are the basic parts of your argument? Your big or top level primary research question. For example, what are some of the less explored causes that help explain the journey of Rupert Murdoch from provincial Australian newspaper owner to global media mogul, described by some as the most dangerous man in the world? Your answer to the question, for example, his socialisation as a male in the 1940s and 50s by his father and grandfather. This is an example from my own research, and I apologise that it's very Australian-centric, but I haven't done other than Australian-centric research. As you read the relevant literature and discover more about your subject, sub-questions and answers are likely to develop from the bigger one. These will guide the construction of your chapters. But it's also possible that as you read the literature or gather your data or both, that you decide or are forced to change your big question. For example, I started my PhD by asking, what did a famous 19th century environmental leader think and do to prevent bushfires in Australia? As I read the available documents, I found that there was very little evidence to work with. My guy was a very humble civil servant who believed it was inappropriate to draw attention to himself by documenting his thoughts. He also thought I was rude. But what I did find turned out to be more interesting. Through strategic alliances with politicians, he drove the establishment of the Australian forest reserves. The bigger and better question I was able to ask and answer was, how did he learn to think and act as a successful leader of environmental sustainability, and how can we employ those first principles in today's issues of environmental sustainability? Whatever your research question is, and however it may shift during the course of your research, you need to keep it firmly in your mind as you choose your literature, including your methodology literature, your data or evidence, your analysis and your writing. It is your true and constant guidepost, your benchmark that determines where you head or don't, what you include and don't. Basically, if what you are doing right now in any of your work does not advance your argument, that is your research question and your hypothesis, then you need to let it go. This is the art and discipline of defining and refining your scope, determining the limits of your thesis. It's also easy to get carried away as a curious and engaged apprentice scholar by literature and data that capture your interest and imagination. But you need to put this aside. Stay focused and know that this material waits for your next research adventure. It may seem so simple, like something you can easily keep in your head, your research question, but it isn't. Having it there in front of you and changing it as you go through the process can help you to stay focused. If you take time to document that central research question of your thesis, that won't be time wasted. That question may be how is, or maybe it starts with why are, or what is, or what should, or what could. Just write it out and keep refining it. Even stick it on your fridge, as I did. That's my advice for today. Thank you for listening.